Hey y'all, Simply It's Logical here, and welcome back to the channel. Either way, thank y'all for joining me for today's video, where we are going to be going over the dev diary for that Prehistoric Kingdom just released earlier this week. I think they usually release their dev diaries on like the last day of the month, and so they released it on Sunday. So it has been almost a week since they released it. I do know that this is several days late, but our weekly uploads are, as you all know, on Saturdays. So we are going to be going over that today, and there is a lot to unpack in this dev diary. I'm very excited about all the details that they've shared with us and all the details that we are still yet to learn about starting next year. Because as I'm sure you can tell by the title of this video, this is the last dev diary that Prehistoric Kingdom will be releasing for the year. So we will not have one for December, but we will get one again in January. So let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so to start off this dev diary, it obviously says dev diary November 2025. And then after that, we come to the welcome paragraph, as always, which states, "Welcome to the November Development Diary. As the team will be on their holiday break in late December, this is officially our last blog post for the year." There's quite a lot of text to get through in this one, so let's dig right into it. And I have read a little bit through this, and there is a lot to unwrap in this dev diary, and that makes me so excited. First up, the team is trying to get Update 16 into public testing as soon as possible. While the content will be restricted and unfinished, we are aiming to start the PTB, meaning Player Test Beta, during December to gauge early feedback, fix bugs, and lock down a release date. Obviously, December is a busy month due to the holidays, but stay tuned for more info and we'll do our best. So, I know I got a comment on this just the other day asking if Update 16 had come out yet, and this is your answer. It has not come out yet, but they are planning to get the PTB out in December, and maybe late December we'll get the Update 16 will actually be released. But again, with the holidays, it might not be until January, but we don't know that. Moving on, it says funding recap and a thank you. Looking back to the start of the year, we want to provide an update on our financial situation. For those unaware, Prehistoric Kingdom was almost entirely out of funding as of January of 2025, meaning the start of this year. As you might imagine, this was a very stressful time for the team, and many of us voluntarily made pay sacrifices to keep the game afloat. Thankfully, over the last 11 months, we have been able to push out game-changing updates like breeding and seamless growth entirely thanks to your support. Whether it's been through buying a copy or supporting us directly on Patreon, you have made an incredible difference and provided us with the security to keep going. While sales do fluctuate month to month depending on discounts or game updates, the overall interest in Prehistoric Kingdom continues to increase. Patreon has been a massive help when making up for dry months, so if you can spare it, we will forever appreciate you supporting us over there. Truly, thank you all so much for your help, the Prehistoric Kingdom team. So basically, that was just saying that they were in a financial crisis. Because of their Patreon supporters and members, they were able to get out of that financial crisis and continue making the game. So again, if you are not sponsoring them or on their Patreon, make sure to go check it out. It's a great place to get early access updates or like sneak peeks of what they're working on. I do know that they just released I forget what this is called, but the fish that we saw at the very first, or that I guess you're looking at right now probably, they released an early sneak peek of that on their Patreon. So you get sneak peeks and stuff like that over there. So make sure you go and check them out over there if you're not already. But now we're going to get into the meat and the bones of this dev diary. Starting off, we're going to start off with Update 16, the Vivariums, and the new species. This is Yi. Y-I is literally all it says. And Yi is basically a wyvern. Is that how you pronounce that? Well, it's really a dinosaur from China, but instead of using feathers to glide, its wings were made from a bat-like membrane. Inside its mouth is a set of needle-like teeth that love to munch on insects, kibble, and the occasional finger. Interesting to know. The first concept art for this fluffy fellow was drawn all the way back in 2021, with Yi originally intended to be part of the early access launch roster. We even had Nigel record lines for it, but due to the difficulties that came from the original mini aviary, Yi was shelved until now. Revisiting the original concept was a real treat. And you can definitely see a huge difference between the 21 concept and the 25 concept. From a time long before the dinosaurs, Tiktaalik, is that how you say that? Tiktaalik? I don't know. Is one of the oldest animals coming to Prehistoric Kingdom. This fish is what's considered to be a transitional species, a link between land and water. Using its surprisingly sturdy limbs and muscular body, guests love to watch Tiktaalik propel itself onto the shores of their vivarium. It may not be graceful, but it sure is fascinating. And this alone, knowing that they're giving us aquatic animals along with the Spinosaurus, makes me very hopeful that maybe in the future, in either another update or once the game is out of early access and has fully launched in a DLC, we might get fully aquatic animals. Obviously, we don't know that. All we can do is hope, but I hope that we do. Moving on, it says, if it's not on land, you'll commonly catch Tiktaalik below the surface exploring its aquatic domain. It's great exercise for grandpa. I don't know where the grandpa came from, but y'all can let me know if you know down below. Moving on, we're going to talk about making a home. Since vivariums are quite a small space to build in, we've designed a system that allows players to quickly add or remove nature with just a couple clicks. And this, I'm very excited about. Depending on the chosen environment, there are a variety of nature presets that can be made more or less dense. These options can be freely mixed and matched, or even include Mesozoic plants if they've been unlocked. If you're not happy with how the items have been placed, you can even set or randomize the vivarium seed, redistributing your nature pieces. So from that, I gather that you can basically make a blueprint of how you want certain plants to look for certain environments, and it should either copy it to other vivariums, or it'll save that as a preset for that vivarium. I'm not sure exactly which one, but I hope it's the latter. Moving on, it says, of course, if you're more of a sandbox builder like me, you can always turn off the generated nature or simply add your own touches on top of it. And that also makes me happy that we can add our own plants into this. And I mean, it's kind of like Planet Zoo, where even though the exhibits are so big, you can basically cheek it into being smaller or larger depending on how you size the viewing window. But you can also add your own plants into Planet Zoo's exhibits, except for the fact that you can't size them down. And with Prehistoric Kingdom, as you all know, we can size up and down. So that makes me really happy that the game isn't going to get mad if we add our own plants into the exhibits. Moving on, it says when it comes to enrichment items, these can be toggled within the same menu. Each vivarium comes with its own predetermined enrichment spots that add new locations for your animals to explore. For example, your compies can jump up onto logs and your microraptors can glide to climbing frames. And we saw a little bit of that in last month's Dev Diary, the microraptors gliding. And that also makes me excited that maybe we'll get fully flying birds in the like pterodactyls or something in the future, is what I'm really hoping for this game. And then it says all vivariums above were made using a mix of hand placement and auto generation. So if you don't know, there's paintbrushes for foliage and stuff like that you can use, but you can also do that for like a quick rough layout of what plants you want to use, and then you can go in and kind of add in your own plants scattered throughout to kind of spiffy it up a little bit. And that's basically what they did. One of your favorite items is the arboreal tree. When disabled, the perch looks more like something you'd see in a real zoo. Turn it on, however, and your flyers are right at home. The vibe is up to you. And that alone makes me excited that we can have trees basically ready for animals to perch and fly on, or just kind of leave it alone. However, I don't know that I really care for the fact that it completely changes the style of tree. So like you can see the default tree is very light and very barren with sticks and stuff like limbs and stuff. And the arboreal tree is much more wooded texture, like a natural tree has grown in this exhibit. And the default is more like a dead tree, basically, or like a chopped down tree. I do kind of wish it were like the same type of tree. It's just kind of you turn it on or off. Same thing with the climbing items in Planet Zoo, where it's the same item. It's going to look the exact same, but it's going to be turned on or off depending on if you want to use it for climbing or not. Is kind of how I wish they had gone about this. But maybe it'll change, but I doubt it. We should also mention that all of these enrichment items will be available as separate decorative modular pieces. And that sentence makes me so happy, because that means that we can take these enrichment items, which I'm assuming the arboreal tree could be included as one of those, and you can use it and copy and paste it either into other exhibits or maybe even around your zoo if you want to. That's what I'm hoping for. Moving on to Enlightening. And so, after all that, vivariums are almost done. We're currently working on the management side of things and are animating the remaining species. So we do have more animals coming, it seems like, for vivariums. I wonder what those are. Maybe, I don't think we've talked about any other vivarium species except for, like, we have two. I know we have the Microraptor and the Compies. And the Yi, obviously, and the Tiktaalik, which was just announced. Are there any more? I don't think so, right? Not that we've been aware of, right? I don't know. You have to let me know down below. My memory is not that great. But going back to what we were talking about, it says, we really like how the system turned out and love its flexibility, especially when it comes to things like the null styling and enrichment. And that also makes me very happy. To finish off the work on their customization, players can also change the vivarium's light color. Again, if you have a nocturnal species, you can the lights in the vivarium, you can change them to be red or purple depending on the nocturnal species or the diurnal species even. This is perfect for making reptile houses or nocturnal habitats. We cannot wait to see what you do with them. The one thing I think I would like to see them add with this is like an automatic timer for the lights. So like during the day they would be on, and then at like say 5:30, 6 o'clock when the sun started going down, they would turn off is kind of what I would like to see. But I guess we'll see. Vets and diseases. Diseases and ailments can come in a variety of forms. There are over 25 different conditions, each caused by things like the weather, poor habitats, or worsening sickness. Some examples include the common cold, which is a contagious disease potentially contracted from weather or swimming. Silicosis, which is particulate caught in the lungs, meaning phlegm basically, caused by a lack of plants in the habitat. Next, we have roundworms, which is contracted from eating contaminated feeders. And then we have plant toxicosis, which is contracted from eating plants of the wrong era. That is good to know because, as you all know, when I'm building in Planet Zoo or Prehistoric Kingdom, I really don't care what plants are in the habitat, where they're from or when they're from. I just kind of place down what I think looks good. So this might be something that we'll have to watch out from now on. And then the last example that they give us is mites, which is contracted from using dirty bedding. Most diseases can be treated early to stop them developing into something much worse. For example, the common cold can turn into pneumonia. For this, you'll need a special type of staff member, which we talk about right now under the vet set category. To identify and deal with disease in the park, players will need to hire vets. Their primary task is to walk around and automatically survey habitats, alerting the player to issues as they arise. If an animal becomes sick and they have not been recently surveyed by a vet, the player will not be aware that something is wrong until the next survey. Despite this, many illnesses will show physical symptoms such as sneezing, skin irritation, lethargy, which is basically just tired or kind of drowsy, or frequent droppings, meaning going to the bathroom quite regularly. If the player notices or thinks something is wrong, they have the option to manually call a vet to visit the animal. So what that means is until a vet discovers the disease or ailment that is wrong with the animal, you won't know about it. So you're not going to get a pop-up or notification unless a vet has discovered it. So if you think something's wrong, it's always better to go ahead and just call the vet to be like, hey, can you check them out really quickly just to make sure nothing is wrong? And in case there is something wrong, maybe you can catch it early enough so that way it doesn't turn into something much worse. And you can see in this image that it gives, we have another ailment, which is called gastroenteritis, which I would assume is basically gastro, like an upset stomach, basically, is what I would imagine, but I'm not sure. When a disease has been found, vets will medicate animals from a distance or sedate them and use the new medicine resource to treat them in the field. A sick animal cannot lose its survey status until all its issues have been cured. And I really just want to pause right here and say that this game and this company is getting so into detail about the animal care and keeping the animals to make sure that they are fully healthy and happy in their exhibits and the things that we build for them. And with us just getting the announcement for Planet Zoo 2, this game is only what I can hope for Planet Zoo 2, plus even more on top of it. So I really hope if Frontier is not paying attention to Prehistoric Kingdom, they start paying attention to Prehistoric Kingdom, because this is exactly the game that I want for Planet Zoo, with the in-depthness of you can have different diseases and broken bones, because we talk about that in just a second, and everything else that comes with animal care, and even having to make sure that you are always going to know that the animals are sick until they've been completely cured. And even with, like in Prehistoric Kingdom, the oviraptors lay eggs. They don't just lay baby oviraptors, they lay eggs, and the eggs have to hatch. That is what I'm hoping for and praying that we get in Planet Zoo 2, because if not, I'm going to be very, very disappointed in the game. But enough of that. Let's continue with the dev diary. So, moving on, we're going to talk about preventing disease. As vets inspect your habitats and vivariums, they'll also check the cleanliness of any feeders, water troughs, and bedding within an area. The less spread out these modules are in the enclosure, the quicker this process will be. Dirty modules are a potential source of disease, so if they're found, keepers will be called in to clean them. In the case of feeders, food will be completely thrown out and replaced if a disease is identified. And that also adds more to like the managerial aspect of the game, because you have to make sure that you have enough keepers and vets to monitor all your habitats. And if a vet is taken up with an animal in quarantine, you need to make sure you have another vet that's roaming around checking for any other animals. Players can also add supplements to feeders by using the medicine delivered by vets. Once ingested, animals will receive temporary buffs depending on what the player has enabled. And again, just the detail that they're going into, because here we have 5 different types of medicines that we can give our animals to either prevent them from getting sick or increase their offspring percentages. And that is what, again, I'm just hoping that Frontier is taking notes on this game and wanting to do all of this plus more with Planet Zoo 2. But I guess we'll just have to see. So the first option that we have is vitamins. Animals are more resistant to getting sick, increases immunity and growth speed. Next, we have steroids. Animals heal faster from light wounds, meaning like a scratch or a cut, increases vitality and growth speed. Will be useful for competitive species like Triceratops once combat is added. So like if your animals like your territorial animals are fighting with each other, steroids will be good to prevent them from, or to allow their wounds to heal faster and stuff like that. Next up, we have mating booster, which is probably exactly what it sounds like, increases courtship during the breeding season. So they'll be more open to courting and mating and stuff like that. And then we have a mating suppressant, which decreases courtship during the breeding season, which that basically does the opposite of the booster. This one will like reduce their need to mate or their need to court. So if you notice that you already have a ton of babies in your exhibit and you don't want any more, you can probably give all your grown animals that medicine and it will suppress their need to mate. And then this one we have mutagen, which it says that it increases the chance and intensity of mutations from parent to offspring. For example, wider variation in genetic immunity, fertility, and random skins for babies. And that one's a little interesting. I don't know that I personally care that much for this one, but I think it is interesting that if you have a brown mom and like a tan dad, your babies will probably be some version of tan or brown. But with this one, it can increase the chance that your babies can be yellow or green or purple is basically what this is. And I wouldn't be opposed to using it for certain animals, but I don't know that I'd want every animal to use it, to just kind of get some more colors in your zoo, But moving on, it says to compensate for these changes, the growth speed for animals will be lowered across the board, while the courtship chance will become more varied per species. And as you all know, we have not yet played with mating in the game, but I'm really hoping to get back into Prehistoric Kingdom soon, and maybe even start a what do you call it? A franchise park, basically, is what I'm hoping to do. And we can do like a franchise zoo and see all the details, not just build pretty things. Moving on to research and quarantine. While vets can deal with basic illnesses right away in the field, some advanced ailments might need the player to explore new treatment options. The first starts by researching the quarantine bay, a module that's required to treat certain things like the bird flu, sepsis, or eventually in Update 17, broken bones. Once an animal has been moved into a quarantine bay, this will give your vets a sterile place to work while also protecting nearby animals from any contagious disease. A quarantine bay must be stocked with medicine in order to treat animals. And from that last sentence, it sounds like you're going to have to make sure that you have enough funds to stock the quarantine bay in order to treat your animals before you can even open it. And make sure that you keep it stocked after every use. As you can see below, all of the mid to late stage illnesses either must be researched to perform treatment in the field or entirely rely on the quarantine bay. To prevent the worst from happening, meaning death, you'll want your vets available, habitat spotless, and the research tree completed. And again, because of this tree that you're currently watching, this is kind of what's making me want to do like a franchise park, so that way we can see all of the things in the game that we haven't even explored yet. And now for the last little bit of information for this dev diary, we're going to talk about next year. Since this is our last dev diary for the year, we wanted to briefly talk a little about 2026. If you've been keeping up with the roadmap, you'll know that after Update 16, Prehistoric Kingdom will be 2 major updates away from the full release of the game. And that is so exciting to me. There are a few features here and there that are yet to be revealed. But the biggest headliners for next year will definitely be hunting, combat, and breakouts. These remaining updates are going to be substantial and very time-consuming, but they'll finally bring all the pieces together. By the end of 2026, PK, or Prehistoric Kingdom, should be mechanically complete. In the terms of next year's roster, it's finally time for the Stegosaurus. This Jurassic Classic will be arriving with 4 different designs, 2 for Stegosaurus dinops and 2 for Stegosaurus ungulatus. We can't wait to show you how the others look, and I can't wait to see the others either. Its contemporary predator, the Allosaurus, will also be stalking its way into the game. This ferocious predator will have 4 different alternate species, each with their proper skull shape to make it one of the most diverse and deadly animals in Prehistoric Kingdom. So, there you go. You have 2 new dinosaurs coming to the game. I do hope eventually Prehistoric Kingdom does kind of divert away from the dinosaurs and give us maybe a DLC with some more mammals and stuff like that, like actual animal prehistoric creatures, I guess you could say. Because I know we have several right now, but I'm hoping that we'll have even more, and it'll kind of be like contain not all, because obviously you can't do every single Prehistoric Kingdom creature that ever lived. But with the name Prehistoric Kingdom, you can do multiple different prehistoric animals to where with like Jurassic World Evolution that just released, they're more dinosaur involved. So they can't really do like the mammoth or the saber-toothed tiger, you could say, or stuff like that. They can't really do those animals because they didn't have those in Jurassic World Evolution. So, but that is all that I have for y'all this week. I'm very excited about this update, and I know I say that about every dev diary that we get, but that's because they always give us just enough information to keep us happy, but not so much that it spoils it for the next dev diary. So, with that being said, I hope you all had a great, I hope that you all will have a great weekend or rest of your weekend whenever you're watching this video. And I will talk to y'all next week. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff, and I will see y'all later. Bye, guys.